Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the Tech Virtual Summit. My name is Nina Sclafani, and you are joining us for the Virtual Tech Coach. This is the first session of today. We are really excited to get started. We're going to wait, though, about 2 minutes just to let more people fill into the room. If you've attended any of our sessions so far, I hope you've enjoyed them. I've been sending out the follow-up emails, so you may have received some of those. In the email that you will receive following this session, you'll see that there's a survey at the bottom. Feel free to fill that out for us and let us know what you thought about the summit. We are hoping to have more of these going forward, so any feedback that we receive from you is incredibly valuable and will help us shape the future summits that we put together. Like I said, we're going to get started in about another minute. If you are just joining us, though, welcome to day 3 of the Tech Virtual Summit. You are in the Virtual Tech Coach. Following this presentation, we're also going to send you a video of it. So if there's anything that you miss and want to rewatch, you'll have access to that. If there's any sessions that you missed also over the past couple of days that you wanted to see, we have a YouTube page of all of those videos as well. So feel free to check those out. There's so many great resources about how to get started for this next school year as we kind of get into a strange new environment. So there's a lot of great tips to help you navigate this new world. All right, and with that, hello everyone, my name is Nina Sclafani. I'm the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech, and you are in the Virtual Tech Coach. Today, while you are in our Zoom, if you are new to this process, scroll over your screen and you'll see there's a bar at the bottom. There's a Q&A box and a chat box. Feel free to click into both of those and pop them up onto your screen. Use the chat to talk with your peers throughout this session. Let us know where you're from, what you teach, and if there's anything Katie says that you think is really extraordinary, we would love to hear it. If you have a question, though, make sure to ask that in the Q&A box. It will help us kind of decipher between the comments and the questions because we don't want to miss any of your important questions. Katie is going to be presenting for us today, and she's going to be focusing on her presentation. If she does catch a question throughout the session, she might answer it then. If it doesn't get answered right away, don't worry, we're going to save some time at the end for questions. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Katie Ritter. She's the Director for Curriculum and Technology Integration at Forward Edge. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nina, and welcome everybody. I'm really glad to have you all here, even though I can't see you. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And no pressure. I hope I say something extraordinary, Nina. So, okay, wrong desktop. There we go. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay.
We can see it. It looks great.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just lost the chat. So let me pull that back up just so I can see if anything does come in. I can watch it. So, okay. Great. All right, thanks for letting me get started. So we are going to be, talking about being a virtual tech coach. So feel free, as I'm talking, introduce yourself in the chat, and please share your own ideas. I by no means think that I have it all figured out, but hopefully I'll give you guys some ideas. I love working with groups of coaches and other folks who help teachers integrate technology. I just think that you're all so smart and so creative. So please feel free to share your own ideas as we're going through this as well in the chat. I just think that we're all better together when we're sharing those ideas. So just a little bit about me, and why you might be wondering, am I talking about this topic for you? So as Nina said, I am the Director of Curriculum and Technology Integration at Forward Edge. We are a K-12 focused technology company that is in Cincinnati, Ohio, is where I am coming to you from today. And so my background is education. It's not technology. I got my undergrad in secondary education, my master's in education and instructional technology. Currently working on my educational doctorate from Vanderbilt right now, because apparently I think I have enough time on my hands. So I am slightly losing my mind during the day and at night too. I have also served on ISTE's Edtech Coaches leadership team for the past 5 years, and actually a little bit more than that at this point, going into this school year. So closer to 6 years. I served as the president for a couple of years. So that has been a fantastic organization and experience to be a part of. I also serve as one of the Future Ready Schools instructional coaches, thought leaders, and get to contribute to some different things with Future Ready, if you're familiar with that organization. I have all of the Google Educator certifications, as well as a newly minted Google for Education certified coach, as well as my team also serves as a Google for Education recommended partner to mentor new coaches who go through that coaching certification, which is a new certification from Google. And then my blog, which has been slightly neglected since going back to school, but it is Talk Tech with Me. If you're interested, and there's my social media on there if you would like to connect outside of here as well. I love hearing from everybody. So really quick, Forward Edge, like I said, we are a K-12 technology company, and specifically I oversee a team of former educators. We've got 14 coaches on our team. So like I said, I don't pretend to have all of the answers figured out, but I have a brilliant team of educators and technology coaches who have sort of all contributed to some of the ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm a strong believer that the smartest person in the room is the room. So, okay, so our agenda today, what we're going to go over, we're going to really quickly talk about the role of a coach right now in this post-COVID era. And then we're going to really focus on these next 4 buckets as a coach that I think are really what coaches are struggling with the most. So we're going to talk about how, if we're in a virtual environment or hybrid environment, you have some teachers at home, or maybe some of you are all starting remotely. I know here in Ohio it looks different from district to district what they're doing. So how will we do this as maybe a brand new coach in a new district, or even a returning coach? Our world, just like teachers, looks so different right now. So how do we build relationships? How do we market ourselves as a coach? Those of you who are coaches know that a huge part of coaching is just helping people understand what a coach even is, and what we can do. How do you, I call it, push in to classrooms? So how are we, even if teachers aren't seeking you out, how are you finding those ways to get into classrooms with teachers to sort of show your value? And then of course, how are we going to be visible when we can't just be seen walking around the halls in every instance? And then how do we focus on those formal coaching cycles, which is really where coaches are able to do that really deep work in a consistent cycle, meeting with teachers regularly. So really quickly, let's talk about a coach's role right now. The modern coach, this is an image, ISTE standards for coaches. They are the most recently refreshed set of standards by ISTE. These are kind of the big buckets. If you're not familiar with those standards, and you serve in any sort of an EdTech coaching capacity, formally or informally, definitely check out those standards. It gives you a really good sense of, what should you be doing? A lot of times somebody takes this role of a tech coach and people don't really even know what they're supposed to be doing. You might be one of those people who's like, they just moved me into this role and I'm not really even sure what I'm supposed to do. So those standards will help you. And they also share them with your admin because they help your admin understand what you should be doing. But anyway, as you can see from these big buckets, we have so much on our plate. And if you're anyone like me and my team, I haven't stopped since March 13th when Ohio schools closed from just back-to-back meeting and supporting people. And I'm sure that you're all in that same bucket if you serve in that supportive role as well. So we have a lot on our plate normally, let alone now supporting teachers using technology when they are trying to teach and be in multiple places at once. There's a really awesome article. Don't go to it now because I want you to stick with me, but after this you'll get the slides, and so there's the link there that can take you but there's a really great article that was just published actually August 11th by Digital Promise, and it talks about research of coaches during this COVID era. And I pulled a couple of quotes from the article where survey results showing, that admin and teachers value the role of tech coaches now more than ever, which seems a little intuitive, right? Of course they do right now. And more than 90% of the coaches reported that their teachers reached out to them more frequently during school closures. So again, seems pretty obvious, but there's just a lot of research to back up that essentially coaches are more important now than ever before. I'm a little biased. I think we've always been pretty important, but there's a lot of supporting research now to point that out as well too. And so what I'd like everybody to do is I kind of want to hear from you a little bit. So if you wouldn't mind going to menti.com, you can do it on your phone, any device. So if you don't want to leave your Zoom window, you can open up a window in your internet browser. You can do it on your phone. But if you go to menti.com, and then when you get MENTI, and then when you get there, you can use the code 6150383. And what I'd like to do is hear from you. What is it that's keeping you up at night in regards to coaching in this virtual environment? And I know I'm limiting you to 3 words because that's kind of how the system works. But thank you so much for throwing that in the chat, Nina. But so obviously, I'm sure there's a lot, but if you can try to narrow those thoughts down into 3 words so we can just kind of see, because I will try to hopefully try to address some of that if it's not already in the presentation. So I'll give you just a minute to figure out how to get there. If you've never seen Mentimeter before, it is an awesome tool. This is the word cloud feature, and so it will update the word cloud live as people submit their responses. You can see it submitting. So yeah, staying on top of new apps, juggling your own family time, right? Like we have to, the expression "put your own mask on first" takes on a whole new meaning these days. But we need to take care of ourselves. How to keep people engaged. Feeling completely overwhelmed. I hear you on all of these. Oh, I like that one, worksheets. I'm assuming you mean you're afraid that your teachers will just resort to using worksheets as opposed to really innovating because they have a lot on their plate. Engagement's coming up a lot. Need for connection. I hear you. I'm an extrovert. I am not okay. Awesome. Thanks for throwing that out. I think we're gonna touch on a handful of this, but again, some of those things, that's where I'd love to see your ideas coming through the chat as well too. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, which some of you sort of alluded to in your submissions there for the Mentimeter, but is building relationships. So how are we going to do this if we're maybe not, sitting side by side with our teachers as much? Because, those of being a tech coach, I think the most important quality is that ability to build relationships. If you can't build relationships with your teachers, you're not going to be able to really do deep work with them, right? So I give a whole hour-long talk on just that. But first and foremost, we've been having a lot of luck with our coaches doing little screencast introductions to send those out over the summer or before school. Especially if you're starting completely remote or have a handful of teachers at home, you may want to send out some sort of a weekly screencast update. So again, the more that we can be face-to-face and they can see us, the better. This is a little example that myself and my assistant director did in order to connect with all of the building principals. So our 14 tech coaches serve somewhere between 15 and 20 different school districts as their tech coach. And so it is also really important. Administrators can, make or break the success of a coach in the school. If they understand it, they can support and foster the relationship. with a coach and the teachers. If they don't understand, tech integration or the role of the coach, they can really kind of hinder that process in the teacher's access, or sorry, the coach's access to teachers. So we really wanted to connect with every building admin. We do a lot of connecting with the district level admin. That doesn't always trickle down to the building level for them to understand the role of a coach. So this was our little example, coffee with a coach. We had a few slides that we went through, but we kept our face. You can see in that top right corner of the screencast video there, we kept our faces on because there's just something about seeing someone's face and their expressions. We're missing out on a lot of that these days with masks covering everything up. So screencast introductions, we've had a lot of help with that. Also, you've probably seen, and I know there's a little bit of like controversy, are these really effective? Are they not? Are they just cutesy? But the like virtual classrooms or the Bitmoji classrooms that teachers made in the spring, a lot of teachers made using Google Slides and their Bitmoji. So it kind of a fun way to put your face to something. You could also do this with a virtual coach's office, right? And any of these objects, because it's a Google slide, you can link to any of these things. So, whether you take a picture of your own office, or heck, maybe now's the time to get that dream office with a window overlooking the beach, right? You can make that your virtual Bitmoji office, but you can add links to different resources, screencast tutorials that you maybe created on how to do certain things, links to tutorials on your Google Classroom or your Schoology or your Canvas or whatever LMS you're using. So lots of things that you can do. The one on the right here, the one on the left, Leslie Fagan, she's been on the Edtech Coaches leadership team with me for a few years. So this was a quick one that she made up to send out in a newsletter to her teachers. So to remind them that they could reach out to her at any time of day over Google Hangout. And then the one on the right is actually, it was a gym teacher who made this in the spring. And each one of her doing different gym activities links to like a video for students to actually do that activity at home. So I think that they can be pretty creative and clever, but that's just another idea. A get to know you form. So I'm not going to play this video in here. You can watch it, and I encourage you to watch it after today, because I love this video. It's old now, but it talks about this teacher who used a Google form, and at the beginning of the year, she sent it out just to get to know her students and how valued the students felt, because they actually had a teacher asking like personal questions and getting to know them, and she as a teacher felt like she got to know her students so much better. Because they were opening up more in this form rather than maybe just talking to an adult face to face that they aren't as comfortable with. So I think, why not do that to get to know your teachers? Obviously we don't want to survey them to death right now. They might already be getting surveys, how comfortable are you doing this and teaching remotely and all kinds of stuff. But that could be another way to get to know the teachers that you're serving. Especially if you're new to your building or your district that you're serving, finding out what people teach, asking them like, what are they most nervous about with remote and or hybrid teaching? That might help you just even develop general trainings around it that you can then work with groups on. Best time to work with a teacher, right? What are they most comfortable with using? Would they rather be on the phone? Are they comfortable with a video hangout? Just kind of getting to know some of those things to help you target and make your interactions with them a little bit more personal down the road. And then I think it's really important that coaches, that you are constantly stressing, now more than ever, that you're here to be an extra set of hands. I don't think that you can say that enough, and that's not the last time you're going to hear it from me today either. But constantly in everything you do, you're here to help. You're here to be an extra set of hands. Teachers are already feeling so overwhelmed with everything that they have to keep up with, right? You guys have heard it. I always joke that coaches are part-time therapists. But just constantly reminding them of that you're not here to put more work on them, that you're here to help them and be an extra set of hands. So then the next little bucket that I want to talk about is how to market yourself, right? So I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, but coaches, a lot of coaching, especially if you're a first-year coach or a new coach, if coaching's a new role in your building or you're new to the role in the building, a lot of it is just marketing yourself and making sure that teachers know how to help you. It's important to share what a coach is not, right? Like I always say, I'm not here to fix your projector. Once everything's working, I can help you use it all to make instruction more impactful. So a lot of being a coach is just marketing yourself and clarifying what your role even is. I know a lot of coaches have really awesome coaching menus. So there's all kinds of examples out there that you can find. You can probably throw something out on Twitter. But adding virtual options to those coaching menus, right? So if you've already sent it out this year to your teachers, no biggie. If you haven't, now's the perfect time to make one. And if you've already sent it out, just add to it, right? Or send a revised version. You can never get it in front of them too much. And so adding a specific virtual option that's comparable to whatever you would have done in the face-to-face environment. Things that seem obvious to us, like, well, yeah, of course I could help you, do that. And we would just jump on a video hangout to do that. It's not always as obvious to teachers, especially the teachers who aren't as comfortable with technology. So really kind of spelling that out for them and how you could assist in particular ways, super helpful for the teachers. Utilizing newsletters and weekly tech tips, and making sure that you're being consistent, right? I think a lot of times, people, I am guilty of this for sure. Like, oh, we need to communicate. I'll start a newsletter. And then it becomes, oh, it's that time to send the newsletter out again. I don't have time to do that right now. So being consistent with whatever you do to make sure that if they come to rely on that they're actually receiving it, I think is the first thing. But the first two examples here, we use a tool, my team a lot uses a tool called S'more, like the campfire treat is how you spell it. And it's a super easy way to put a newsletter together. We actually will even use that tool to like build different PD opportunities. But having that and just something short and sweet, right? Let it be something that they can digest and consume really quickly. You don't want them to have to scroll and scroll and scroll, right? There's so much information we want to share with the teachers. But just remember they're overwhelmed right now. Nobody's got time necessarily for another email right now. So make it something that's going to be valuable, short and sweet, and they can consume it easy. And first and foremost, make sure that they are receiving it on the regular basis. And if you don't want to go full-blown newsletter, some kind of a tech tip that you can send out maybe on a weekly basis related to distance learning or hybrid teaching right now would be really helpful. Shameless plug. There's no harm in getting right in their face about it. So this was one of my coaches, Brooke, actually made these little business cards, and she made the tech tip on the previous slide too. She used Canva for that, for anyone who's familiar with Canva, to create those. And so she actually was going to print each of these out, cut them up, and then actually put them in each of the teachers' mailboxes. So, and this is going on her third year there. So all of the teachers and everyone knows her and relies on her, and she still is remarketing herself. So there is no shame in that. She has her email. I did blur it out, but where her office is located in the school, things like that. And with that too, I did want to point out as well, I think with, like with a little like business card or a little flyer, and also with the coaching menus, we think digital because that's how we function as coaches typically. Print them out, right? Like we can never get things in front of these people enough. I always say the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has been received. So just because you send an email doesn't mean necessarily that someone saw it. So print it out, put it in their mailbox, especially if you have teachers coming in the building or rotating in and out at all, or maybe even snail mailing at home to teachers. For some of you that might not be feasible because you might have too many people, but for some of you, it might be worth the investment of snail mailing it out. Just hopefully it gets there right now with all the post office problems. But anyway, so then also meet them where they are at. I think it's really important as a coach, regardless what environment we're in, face-to-face, virtual, hybrid, that we are modeling whatever strategies and tools that we are trying to have our teachers do and work with our teachers to do. And so utilizing whatever they use, right? So if there's an LMS, Google Classroom or Schoology, again, whatever it is that you're using, create a course for your teachers so you can house all those resources, so you can share that newsletter through that avenue. We want to model what they're using. This was actually, that same coach, Brooke, made this educator resource locker room using Google Sites because their teachers, their by grade bands are all required to have a Google site. So she did that as soon as schools closed, built up this remote learning resource locker room. So it's quick, it's easy to navigate, it's not overloaded with resources, but it gives them what they need and it shows them where they can find. So again, she was using the tool that their teachers are required to use for the students to model that. And no, really, meet them where they are at. So we love on our team doing like a PD on the potty. We actually do it around our office too. So we actually will, we create it in Google Slides and print out a little tech tip. We always have a QR code that actually teaches them how to do it so they can scan that, go back to their office. But I think we'd be lying if we said that most people aren't bringing their phones into the bathroom with them. I know you're guilty too. But so we print these out, hang them in teacher restroom spaces so that they can see them. Again, this could be a great idea, especially for some of you who may have teachers still rotating into the building, right? So they'll see that. Office hours. We've had a lot of success just hosting office hours for teachers. Hey, whatever question you have, right? So we're not presenting PD. It's not something new. It's whatever the teacher has and what their needs are in that moment. So they come to the office hours. During the spring, we use virtual meeting links. You could easily set up a station inside the building if you're allowed to be in your buildings right now. And then, or have a virtual meeting link, and it's just anytime, come or go. You don't have to stay the whole time, and they just show up if they need. Using something like Google Calendar appointment slots would allow them to book their own time, or like set up individual time with you, or you can book me kind of a thing as well too. And with that, I always think it's a really great tip. Whatever link you have, if teachers can book time on their own with you, to put that link in your email signature. That way, they don't have to remember where it's at, where they find that link to find your calendar appointment slots or whatever it might be. They just go to the last email from you and boop, there it is. Or when you're emailing them, hey, you know what? I need more time with this person. Let me book time right there. And so the next category is to push in and be visible, right? So again, I call pushing in, like actually, when a teacher, they may not think they need you, or, I kind of take the Steve Jobs Apple mentality with coaching. Like it's our responsibility to know what the customer needs before they need it, essentially, or like the customer in this case is your teachers. For you to work with. So for you to bring ideas to them if they're not seeking you out, and for you to really work to get to work with those teachers. And then of course, being visible if you're not just up and down the hallway with all of your teachers. Something super simple, but as much as you can, show your face. So it kind of goes back to what I talked about at the beginning with the screencast idea. But at any chance you get, put a Bitmoji on something, right? It's, kind of a cute and clever thing. It's your face without being your face. So especially if you're somebody who doesn't like putting your picture on stuff, at least use a Bitmoji so they're still seeing you and kind of connecting it with this real live human behind this digital wall. Actually putting your picture on things, even if your teachers know you, again, it's good. It's reminding them that you're a human and you're here to help them. Anytime you're doing a screencast, keep your camera on. I hate that, but I do it because I know it adds a little personal touch for people. So anytime you can show your face, the better. just like in person, find those tech influencers and your tech champions, your innovation advocates, whatever you call it. It's those early adopters. It's the teachers that seek you out. And I always recommend to coaches, don't just go for those super tech savvy folks, because everyone who's not super tech savvy just attributes it to, oh, they're the young teacher. Oh, they're really good with technology. Oh, they're whatever, right? So you also want to find those people who are not great with technology, are really intimidated, and get yourself a win with them. And it's someone who, you know, may not be great with tech, but they're really respected by other teachers. And so as soon as it's like, whoa, they were able to do that, whoa, they're saying to work with this coach or recommending it, then that ripple effect, it goes a lot quicker than when you're just focusing on the tech savvy folks who are inviting you in on day one, right? So find those champions, work with them, let them help you spread the word too. Something that's been super helpful for our coaches is to actually have access to all of teachers' individual virtual meeting links, right? So a lot of times, if you're not familiar with Catherine Goyette or Adam Juarez, check them out. They're freaking awesome. They put on great PD about how to push into classrooms and get yourself in the classroom without the teacher necessarily inviting you in there for coaches. Great. They have great resources. But anyway, you know, how do we do that? How do you just pop into a teacher's classroom and say, hey, it's been a long time since I've been in a classroom. Do you mind if I just sit in the back of the room just to be around, you know, kids and see what's going on in the classroom again? How do we do that if it's online? So having access to these virtual meeting links, their names again were Kat Goyette and Adam Juarez. Kate, if you remind me at the end, I'll type them into the chat for you so that you can look them up on Twitter. But so if you can collect those virtual meeting links in some schools, they actually have like each grade band putting their meeting links for the week on a common Google Doc. That way all admin and coaches have access to that. They can jump in and out throughout the week, just like we would do if we were walking in and out of the halls. I know there are certain things where you can make other people co-hosts, or you can, you can, in like in a Google Classroom now, how Meet is integrated. If anyone's using that, maybe you're a co-teacher now on that Google Classroom, so you can access it. But whatever it is, I highly encourage you to figure out some way to get access to your teacher's virtual meeting links, so that you can kind of pop in and out, right? And again, we're offering to be an extra set of hands for those teachers when and if we pop into their classroom. Offering to train all stakeholders. So we've obviously been so focused on making sure that teachers are prepared right now, and rightfully so. But don't forget that there are students who are maybe struggling to figure out some of this technology, especially from home. Especially, and those of you, I am not a parent, but I'm sure some of you on this call are, and you can probably relate and speak to this more than I can, but trying to juggle your life as a parent and help your kids at home in different things like that. So maybe parents need some training. We need to make sure admin are trained, right? So maybe they even know that, oh, it's a possibility to collect all of the virtual meeting links, so I can still be popping in and out as an admin to continue my role. And those classified staff who's responsible for emailing out information, for setting up the staff meetings, things like that. So don't forget about all these other people, that the more that we're all digitally literate, the better for everybody. And then back to the office hours idea, office hours with a purpose. So we have had a lot of luck, as instead of just saying, hey, I'm available from 9 to 10 on this day. If you have any questions, hop in. Teachers do have questions. They don't always proactively seek you out because something else gets taken up on their to-do list or moves up on the priority list. But actually saying, hey, I'm going to be here from 9 to 10. If you want to bring a lesson that you want to do with your students, or an activity that you want to do with your students, and practice it with me, I'll be the student, so you can make sure everything's working and permissions are set correctly and all that good stuff. I'll be here from 9 to 10, hop in at any time, right? Or giving them a specific purpose for the office hour has also been really effective, and gotten a lot of teachers in our experience who, normally don't seek a coach out during the face-to-face school day. They want access to that coach now to practice these tools that they're not familiar with using. And then again, back to this offering to be an extra set of hands. For those of you who have led any virtual trainings over the spring and the summer, you have probably figured out, like we have, that needing an extra set of hands just to moderate the chat so that you can continue with the training, or to offer to break out in a breakout group if someone's struggling, since you can't be there right next to them to help them side by side. It has been extremely important. So the same thing is going to hold true for these teachers, right? Especially if they're teaching to 2 places at once, or trying to teach a lesson online, offering, especially if they're really struggling, hey, you want me to pop in and I'll be happy to moderate the chat for you. Something just small wins to help some of these teachers. And then obviously, offering to co-teach, a full remote lesson or even a hybrid lesson with the teachers can be a great way for them to see you again as an extra set of hands, really being helpful with those teachers. And then the last little bit here, and I know we're getting short on the time, so let me wrap it up here quickly. But conducting formal coaching cycles. So if you are not familiar with a formal coaching cycle, it is where you are meeting with essentially the same teacher on a regular schedule, whether that's weekly or every other week, and you meet for a duration of time. The teacher traditionally brings this problem of practice to you, and you work together to help them solve it, kind of investigate a solution, implement that solution, reflect, rinse, and repeat for however long that cycle is lasting. And you really do, you are able to create very deep, sustainable changes among teachers' coaching practice through formal coaching cycles. So the first suggestion is to do shorter cycles than maybe you have done before, right? Because I know a lot of coaches, my coaches in particular, are really concerned that in this virtual environment, no teachers are going to want to do formal coaching cycles with them because they're just going to feel too overwhelmed. So one idea is just do shorter cycles, right? Maybe instead of the traditional 8 to 9 week cycle, we also do a lot of semester long cycles with our teachers. Maybe shorten those, right? So it's less of a commitment right off the bat. Maybe just going to, if you do 8 weeks, go to 4 weeks. If you do a semester, go to, the 9 week, just a quarter, and shortening it down immediately makes it less of a commitment that they are signing up to do. Obviously, it'd be a smaller problem that you're working to solve, probably. You might have to scale it back, but it'll still help. Another idea is to recruit cohorts and teams. So whether that's grade levels, whether that is, teams of teachers, whether that's content areas, or just a group of teachers who, want to work together regardless of, how they're grouped. But kind of working on a team, I think the grade level or content really or even a team makes a lot of sense. Because then you can focus on one problem that's clearly going to be common to everyone and work through that together. But that would allow you to get more people in at once. So you're reaching more people through that cohort and that team. And then of course, anytime that there's like a team involved, there's that sense of accountability to help them help each other. And then again, marketing, it's really important how you would market the coaching cycles, again, as an extra set of hands. So we usually market our coaching cycles that way anyway. Hey, would you like an extra set of hands in your classroom or to develop lessons? So marketing it that way really helps. And then the last one here is focus your problem-based coaching specifically on remote and hybrid challenges. So you can even throw some of these ideas out there if you're trying to recruit people for these coaching cycles, throwing some of these challenges out that you see on the screen. This is what every teacher is really struggling with. So I'm going to skip these last couple of interactive things and take any, well, maybe I'll keep this last one up, but as you are responding to this last Menti, excuse me, we've got about 6 minutes for questions. So are there any questions? And Nina, I don't know if anything has come in on the Q&A if you want to ask. Or
Nothing yet.
Chat. Okay. If you guys wouldn't mind, if you still have that Menti window up and you're still with us, one, please feel free to think of questions. or ideas that you want to share in each of these areas, or any area maybe that we didn't even talk about. But please feel free to throw them in the chat, especially your ideas. Like I said, coaches are a very creative group. And then this is just a little bit of feedback for me, to see if these ideas were helpful to you at all. I'm going to be leading a similar session a few other times with other coaching groups. So I would just like some feedback there, specifically on, how prepared you feel with each one of those areas that we talked about, and if the ideas were helpful. And hopefully you at least got an idea or two. Let's see, Kate, how would you approach a staff that is timid to be coached in tech, or view the tech coach as the tech teacher who's in the room to relieve them? Yeah, that last piece I think is really important. And I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of that marketing yourself piece. So part of that hits on exactly what our, if you remember my coffee as a coach example, where we were talking with building principles. And part of what we did in that is go over what a tech coach is not. And part of what a tech coach is not is a substitute teacher or a teacher of record, right? So some of that's a little bit of like making sure they know that that's not what you're there to do. You're happy to, pop in and work with them, and maybe even working with your admin to, I always tell my team when they're uncomfortable saying something to another admin or a teacher, I say, put it on me, right? Say I don't want you to do it. That way they don't have to be in an uncomfortable situation with the teacher they're working with or the admin they're working with. So maybe you could work with your principal or your admin and say, hey, would you mind, I keep getting pulled in to be a sub, would you mind if I put it on you a little bit and say, like, you've asked me to not do that, to make sure that I have the time to focus on like supporting instruction, more than being a substitute. So that might help a little bit. I don't know if anyone else has ideas, please throw them in the chat on how you handle those situations too. And then with the approach to staff that's timid to be coached, really marketing it in a way that is, again, back to that, like, hey, do you want an extra set of hands in your classroom? I mean, I went through some old emails to see, like, in the past, how we marketed coaching cycles that have been really successful. And that's literally in our wording that, that we either send out or we have admins send out to teachers to recruit staff for coaching cycles. And we actually say, like, have you always wanted an extra set of hands, like, to help you plan and brainstorm and develop lessons? Like, if so, a tech coaching cycle is for you. And so really just stressing, like, hey, whatever problem you, like, I'm not going to direct what we do. It's whatever problem you have. And we will work together to help solve that or make your life easier there. So those are some tips that have definitely, like, helped us in those situations. So thanks for the question, Kate.
Katie, we did notice that the Menti, it didn't update with the new question.
Oh, that would be because I didn't advance. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone, go for it.
Yeah. And thanks for everybody who stuck around to actually figure it out. I apologize for not advancing it for you. So I know we're coming right up on time, in just a couple of minutes, but are there any other questions? Awesome. I'll hang out here for the next few minutes until Nina kicks me out. But everyone, thank you so much for joining me. It was really nice to get to share some of these ideas. I hope they were helpful. Please connect with me on Twitter. It's at Katie_M_Ritter. And I'd love to connect with you guys and kind of hear and maybe continue the conversation in some of these areas as well too. So thank you so much, and good luck with your back to school, and hang in there and take a deep breath, and we will get through it one day at a time.
Katie, thank you so much. This was so wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
I really like the Mentimeter also. I never knew about this resource.
Oh, it's an awesome tool. There's a lot of different you're limited on some things in the free version, but there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. So we like it. It's been making a lot of virtual trainings a little bit more interactive because it's super easy to just pull up. Like I said, you can pull it up on your phone so you don't have to leave the, meeting that you're in. So it's been super easy.
It reminds me of on the Smart Learning Suite, there's the shout it out feature. It's
Yeah.
kind of the similar vibe, and
Yeah.
it's such a great way exactly to interact with people.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, if we have no more questions coming in, I'd like to let you all know that we have another great session planned at 12 o'clock, getting started with computer science at home or in a socially distanced classroom with Spiro. That's up next. I put the link to register in the chat box. If there's anything that you missed, we have all of the videos archived on our YouTube page, and also you'll be receiving a recording of this following the session. You'll have it within the next 24 hours. All right, Katie, thank you so much again. We really appreciate your
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of the week, everybody.